We'll start today's lesson by saying Namo Tassa 3 times. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Thiruvan Saranai, good evening everyone. Venerable Mahasangha, Sayales, other venerables, and brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Today we will be starting an interesting as well as important topic, and that is on the Mātikā. We'll be first talking about the Kusala Tika and going on to complete the 22 Tika Mātikās. So first, we will refresh our memories about the structure of the Dhammasaṅgaṇī. So the Dhammasaṅgaṇī is divided into 4 sections. Chittupada kandaṃ, risings of consciousness. The Rupa kandaṃ, classification of matter. Nikkhepa kandaṃ, chapter of the summary. And the Aṭṭhakatha kandaṃ, commentarial chapter. Now, what we are going to talk about here is the Mātikā. And the Mātikā is given over here under the Chittupada Kanda. And what we are going to start off with is the Tika Mātikā. Together with this, we'll also be talking parallel the Nikkhepa kandaṃ and the Aṭṭhakatha kandaṃ descriptions of each of these Mātikās. So first we will look at the definition of the word Mātikā. Mata vyatihi Mātikā. This is how it is given in Pali. And it means as a mother who gives birth to, cares for, and nourishes many offspring. Or as a river that flows, nourishing many plantations and fields. These Mātikā that are found in the Abhidhamma Pitaka are the origins of countless number of meanings when expanded. So in other words, these Mātikās are like mothers giving birth to many meanings when they are expanded. Mātikā is also another name that is given to Uddesa or an outline because it gives rise to the Niddesa, the exposition. So as I mentioned before, we'll be describing these Mātikā according to what the description given in the Nikkhepa kandaṃ and the Aṭṭhakatha kandaṃ. So first, let's refresh our minds as to what the Nikkhepa kandaṃ is. The Nikkhepa kandaṃ is also called the Nikkhepa Rasi. And translating that, it means the summary or chapter on abstract categories. The moral triplet has been described at great length in both the Chittupada kandaṃ as well as the Rupa kandaṃ. So these 2 chapters together describe all the ultimate realities that are conditioned, the Saṅkhata Dhamma. And because the rest of the triplets and the couplets also contain the same ultimate realities, the description that is given in the first 2 chapters holds true for the rest of the triplets and couplets. And therefore, the detailed teaching has not been given. It has been omitted for the other triplets and couplets. Instead, what is given is the Nikkhepa kandaṃ and the Aṭṭhakatha kandaṃ describing the rest of the Tika triplets and the Dukkha Mātikā couplets. Now, when it comes to the Nikkhepa kandaṃ, it's also described as Nāti Saṅkhepa, Nāti Vittara, meaning neither too concise nor too detailed. Now, why do we say this? It is because when you compare the Nikkhepa kandaṃ with the Chittotpada kandaṃ, or the risings of consciousness chapter, the Nikkhepa kandaṃ is shorter, it's concise. Whereas in comparison to the commentary, it is more detailed. That is why it is mentioned as not too concise and not too detailed. It sits in between the lengths of the Chittupada kandaṃ and the Aṭṭhakatha kandaṃ. So now let's see why the Nikkhepa kandaṃ is named so. It is called Nikkhepa kandaṃ, or the summary, because in one sense it leaves out the detailed discourse. And in another sense, it summarizes the triplets and the couplets according to 8 topics. And these 8 topics are Mula, roots, Kanda, aggregates, Dvara, doors, Bhumi, planes of existence, Attha, effect or meaning, Dhamma, cause or text, Nama, name, and Linga, gender. And when it comes to the extent, it is 3 recitals in length. But when it's expanded, it becomes endless and immeasurable. Now, this is an example showing how the Nikkhepa kandaṃ describes under various topics. So if you look on the left side, I have given the names of the topics and it's color coded. And on the right side is the text from the Kusala Tika, the Kusala Dhamma, the very first term of the Kusala Tika. And it's given in Pali. But don't worry about it. We'll be describing this when we come to the Kusala Tika. So because it's a crowded slide, I didn't want to put too many words in here. Right, so let's look at how the Nikkhepa kandaṃ describes the Dhammas under each of these topics. Katame Dhamma Kusala. Which states are wholesome? Tini Kusala Mulani. 3 wholesome roots. Now you can see Tini Kusala Mulani. I've given it in purple. Mula, they are the roots. So here there is reference to roots. That's Mula. And what are these roots? Alobho, Adoso, Amoho. Non-greed, non-hatred, and non-delusion. These are the individual names of the 3 roots, and that is given in orange, and that corresponds to Nama, or name. Thang Sampayutto. Thang Sampayutto means together with these roots or associated with these roots are Vedanakkhando, Sanyakkhando, Sankharakkhando, and Vijñānakkhandho. These are the 4 aggregates, the 4 khandhas, and we have shown it in blue. Thang Samuṭṭhāna. Together with these roots arises or springs Kaya Kamma, Vachi Kamma, Mano Kamma. Kaya Kamma refers to the body door, Vachi Kamma refers to the vocal door, and Mano Kamma refers to the mind door. So these are the 3 outlets through which the kusala is generated, and they are called dvara, or doors. Ime Dhamma Kusala. These are the states that are wholesome. Now, there are 2 more terms which I didn't describe here, Attha and Dhamma. I left it to the end because it's easier to describe them together. Now, Attha and Dhamma, what do they mean? Attha means effect or meaning. Dhamma means cause or text. And in Pali, it's given as Atthoti hetu phalam, Dhammoti hetu. Attha meaning effect or hetu phalam, and Dhamma meaning hetu or cause. Now let's see how we describe this according to what is given here. Now, Attha is given in purple, and that corresponds to the Mula, Mulani. In one sense, Attha refers to meaning. So Mula means root condition, hetu pacchaya. It means pabhava, source, janaka, production, samuṭṭhāna, origin, birth, nibbattaka, of moral states. So in other words, these wholesome roots are the source of, or the origin of, moral states. They are the cause for the birth of these moral states. And alobho, adoso, amoho, are given in orange, and they correspond to the Dhamma. And these Dhamma are considered as the cause. And these three together gives rise to the effect, which is the three wholesome roots, Tini Kusala Mula. Now, here is another example. We spoke about Mula, Kanda, Dvara, Attha, and Nama. However, we didn't speak about Bhumi and Linga, because in that example that I gave you, they were not mentioned. So here, the example I've taken is from the Vedana Tika, the first term of it. Katame Dhamma Sukhaya Vedanaya Sampayutta, which states are associated with Sukhaya Vedana, pleasant feeling. Sukha Bhumiyam Kamavachare Rupavachare Apariyapanni. Pleasant soil, Kamavachare, sense sphere, Rupavachare, fine material sphere, Apariyapanne, the supramundane sphere. So here, what is mentioned is the planes of existence, or the bhumi, in which this particular dhammas arise in. So the Sukhaya Vedanaya Sampayutta Dhamma arise in these three bhumis. The next example I have given is to describe gender. Now, as you know, in languages, we have various genders, feminine, masculine, neuter, and so on. So in English, usually it's the inanimate, the inanimate objects are given a neutral name. However, in Pali, it is not the case. Regardless of whether they are animate or inanimate, they are given feminine, masculine, or neutral names. So let's look at the example here. Aṭṭhakatha amoho. So here, what is described here are the synonyms given for amoho, or non-delusion. The words given in purple are the feminine terms, and the words given in blue are masculine, and the green ones are the neuter. Panya, Samma, Ditti are the feminine terms. Panyindriyam, Panya Balam, Panya Sattam, Panya Ratanam. They are neuter. Panya Pasado, Panya Aloko, Panya Obaso, Panya Pajoto, Amoho Dhamma Vichayo. These are masculine. So it's just a characteristic of the Pali language, which is shown here as gender. And next, we will be also describing these Mātikā according to the Aṭṭhakatha kandaṃ, the commentarial chapter. So here what is done is that it elucidates the meaning or elaborates further on the meaning of the summary chapter. Now, what is the origin of the Aṭṭhakatha kandaṃ, or the commentarial chapter? According to the Atthasālinī, the Lord Buddha entrusted Venerable Sariputta Thero with the task of teaching the Abhidhamma to his 500 disciples. So when he was teaching the Nikkhepa kandaṃ, one of his pupils was finding it difficult or finding it hard to understand the content of the Nikkhepa kandaṃ. So the Venerable Sariputta Thero took this fellow student before Lord Buddha, and this, what we have, the contents of the commentarial chapter is what Lord Buddha preached to this monk in order for him to understand the contents of the Nikkhepa kandaṃ. So it is Lord Buddha's teachings that is found in the Aṭṭhakatha kandaṃ. Before we move on to the Mātikā, we'll first revise the ultimate realities, the Paramattha Dhamma. So there are 89 chittas, consciousness, 52 cetasika, mental factors, 28 rupa, and nibbana, the state of final deliverance. Now here what is described is the 89 chittas, or the 89 consciousness. They're divided into 4 broad categories based on the bhumi, or the planes of existence. So the first is the Kamavachara bhumi, or the sense sphere plane, where there are 54 chittas under this category. The next is the Rupavachara, fine material sphere. There are 15 chittas here. The third category is the Arupavachara, immaterial sphere, and there are 12 chittas. And finally, we have the Lokuttara, or the supramundane chittas, and there are 18 total. The Kamavachara chittas are further subdivided into 3 broad categories. The first is the 12 akusala, or unwholesome chittas. The second are the 18 rootless, or ahetuka chittas. And the third are the 24 sobana, or beautiful chittas. The fine material sphere, Rupavachara chittas, there are 15, and they are divided into 3 groups: Kusala, wholesome, Vipaka, resultant, and Kriya, functional. And there are 5 chittas in each of these categories. Thirdly, we have the Arupavachara, the immaterial sphere chittas. And these 12 chittas are divided into Kusala, wholesome, Vipaka, resultant, and Kriya, functional. And here again, they're divided into 3 equal groups, and that's 4 for each group. Finally, we have the Lokuttara chittas, the supramundane. And here we have 4 Kusala, which are also called Magga chitta, and 4 Vipaka, or resultant chittas, which are also called Phala chitta. Next, we move on to the 52 Chetasika, or the mental factors. And they are broadly divided into 3 large groups. First, we have the Anyasamana Chetasika, and translated as ethically variable factors. There are 13 in this group. And this group is further subdivided into 7 universal, or Sabbachitta Sadharana, and 6 occasionals, Pakinnaka. The next group are the 14 Akusala Chetasika, or the unwholesome factors. And finally, we have the 25 Sobana Chetasika, or beautiful factors. Now, this chart shows how the Chetasikas are distributed. It's almost the same as what I mentioned before. However, we have further broken down the Akusala Chetasika and the Sobana Chetasika. The Akusala Chetasika, or the unwholesome factors, are broken down into 5 broad categories. The first is the Akusala Sadharana, or the unwholesome universals. There are 4 there. And then there are 4 Lobha Chetasika, 3 Dosa Chetasika, and Tina Midda, that's 2. And finally, Vichikiccha, there's 1. The Sobana Chetasika, or the beautiful factors, are subdivided into 4 categories. We have the Sobana Sadharana, the universal beautiful factors. There are 19 there. The Virati, abstinences, that's 3. And the Appamanya, illimitables, that's 2 there. And Amoha, non-delusion, that is Panya, that's 1 Chetasika there. Now, this slide is a busy slide. I'm not going to describe each and every one of these. I've just put this here for completion. And here we have the Pali terms, the corresponding English and Chinese terms, and you can have a look at it leisurely when we share the presentation later on. So here again, I've given a slide on the 28 Rupa. So I'm sure you already know about this. I've included this for completion. Just to briefly mention, the 28 Rupa are broadly categorized into 2 groups, Nippanna Rupa and Anippanna Rupa. Nippanna meaning concretely produced matter, and there are 18 Rupas under that category. And the Anippanna Rupa, there are 10. These are also called non-concrete matter. And together, these two groups comprise of the 28 rupas. Right, now we're moving on to the topic of the day, the Tika Mātikā. So among the Mātikas, there are 22 Tika Mātikas, or 22 triplets, out of which the first is the Kusala Tika. Each of these Tika Mātika consists of 3 terms. Now let's look at how the name of the Tika is derived. So each Tika Mātika is given a name. So it's either derived from the first term of the relevant Tika or triplet, and that is called Adiladda Nama Tika. And an example would be the Kusala Tika, because the name is originating from Kusala Dhamma, which is the first term of that triplet. The other way a name is obtained is from all the terms of the Tika triplet, and that is called Sabbaladda Nama Tika. And an example for that is Vedana Tika. Now, if you look at the 3 terms of the Vedana Tika, the first is Sukhaya Vedanaya Sampayutta Dhamma. The second term is Dukkhaya Vedanaya Sampayutta Dhamma. And the third term, Adukka Masukhaya Vedanaya Sampayutta Dhamma. Now, in all of these 3 terms, you heard the word Vedanaya, and that is where this word Vedana has come from. The name Vedana has come from. Therefore, the Vedana Tika gets its name from all of the terms of that triplet, and it's called a Sabbaladda Nama Tika. So as we mentioned, the Kusala Tika, or the wholesome triplet, is an Adiladda Nama Tika. In other words, it gets its name from the first term, which is Kusala Dhamma. The Kusala Tika is also a Nippadesa Tika, meaning comprehensive or all-inclusive triplet. This is because it includes all the ultimate realities without leaving out anything. The Kusala Tika has 3 terms, as we mentioned before. The first term is Kusala Dhamma, meaning states that are wholesome. Akusala Dhamma, states that are unwholesome. And Abhidhamma Dhamma, states that are indeterminate. Let's look at the meaning of the words Kusala and Dhamma. Kusala Dhamma refers to the wholesome or moral states. And this word Kusala has many different meanings depending on the context in which it's used. In certain instances, it refers to good health, arogya, or faultless, anavajja, skillful, cheka, or productive of happy results, sukha vipakesu. Here in the Abhidhamma Pitaka, Kusala refers to wholesome, faultless, and productive of happy results. Kusala, the word has a definition as well. And in Pali, it's mentioned as Kuchite Papake Dhamme Salayanti Chalayanti Kampenti Viddaṃ Sentiti Kusala. This means that these Kusala Dhamma causes contemptible things. The Kuchite Papake Dhamme, the detestable Papa Dhamma, to Salayanti, tremble, Chalayanti, to shake, Kampenti, to be disturbed, and Viddaṃ Senti, destroyed. They cause contemptible things to tremble, shake, to be disturbed, and destroyed. The word Kusala has another meaning, and there is a type of grass called Kusa. And if you take the blade of this Kusa grass and try to hold it in your hand, it will cut one's hand like a double-edged knife. Likewise, these Kusala have the ability of cutting off corruptions into 2 portions, either the unwholesome states that have arisen or those that have not arisen. The word Dhamma also has many meanings. It means pariyatti, scriptural text, hetu, root condition, guna, virtue or good qualities, nisatta nijjiva, absence of an entity or living thing. Here in the Abhidhammatthasaṅgaha, Dhamma refers to nisatta nijjiva, absence of an entity or living thing. Dhamma has another definition, and it is defined as Atthano-pana sabhavam dharentiti dhamma. That means those that bear their own intrinsic nature are called Dhamma. Now let's look at how Kusala Dhamma is described in the Nikkhepa Kanda, or the summary. Katame Dhamma Kusala. Which are the states that are wholesome? So the summary starts with a question, and it's followed by an answer. So the answer is Tini Kusala Mulani, Alobo, Adoso, Amoho. The three wholesome roots: absence of greed, absence of hatred, and absence of delusion. Tang sampayutto, Vedanakkhando, Sanyakkhando, Sankharakkkhando, Vijñānakkkhando. The aggregates of feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness when they are associated with those three roots. Tang samuttanam, kaya kammaṃ, vaci kammaṃ, mano kammaṃ. The bodily, vocal, and mental actions that spring from those three roots. Ime Dhamma Kusala. These are the states that are wholesome. Now, the Nikkhepa Kandaṃ first takes out the three wholesome roots, Alobha, Adosa, Amoha. This is because it is because of these three roots that the consciousness and its other associated mental factors become a wholesome state. They are the main component that is responsible for making the states wholesome. So for that reason, they are brought to the forefront. And then Lord Buddha goes on to say that these three roots are associated with other states, and those are the four aggregates: Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Vijñāna. So they arise together concurrently. And how do we generate kusala? We need to have some sort of door or an output, a way of generating these kusala. And that is through the three doors of action: the body, the bodily door, the vocal, and the mental doors of actions. So basically, without either performing a physical action or through speech or through thinking, without any of these, one will not generate any kusala or wholesome states. So it is essential to have one of these doors coming into action. Ime Dhamma Kusala, these are the states that are wholesome. So in a nutshell, Lord Buddha has described all that we need to know about kusala. So if one wanted to know what kusala is, this is a perfect summary because it tells exactly what the components are and how they arise, under what conditions. We next look at the description given in the Aṭṭhakatha kandaṃ, the Commentarial chapter. Here again, it starts with the question, Katame Dhamma Kusala, which are the states that are wholesome? Shatusu Bhumi Sukusala, the wholesome states that arise in the four planes of existence. Ime Dhamma Kusala, these are the states that are wholesome. So it's a very brief statement, however, it incorporates everything into it. So in the Chittuppada Kandaṃ, basically, all 89 of the chittas are described in great length, and it's divided according to these 4 planes of existence, or the 4 bhumis. Therefore, when it comes to the commentarial chapter, Lord Buddha mentions it as Chatusu Bhumisu Kusala, the wholesome states that arise in the 4 planes of existence. This is a slide again giving the 89 chittas, and what I have got in green are the wholesome chittas, or the kusala. So from the Kamavachara, there are 8 kusala, Rupavachara there are 5, and Arupavachara there are 4, and Lokuttara again 4. So altogether there are 21 kusala chittas among these 89 chitta. So, as you know, chitta do not arise on their own. They arise together with cetasika, or mental factors. So likewise, when the term Kusala Dhamma is given, it refers not only to the 21 Kusala Chitta, but it also refers to the 38 Cetasikas, which arises together with this consciousness. So the 21 Kusala Chittas are the 8 Kamavachara, the 5 Rupavachara, the 4 Arupavachara, and the 4 Lokuttara. And the 38 Cetasikas are the Anyasamana Cetasika, the 13, which is the first group of the Cetasikas, or the mental factors, and 25 Sobana Cetasika, the beautiful mental factors. So that was all about the Kusala Dhamma. Now we move on to Akusala Dhamma. This is the second term of the Kusala Tika. Akusala means not wholesome or not moral. It's basically the opposite of Kusala. Just as enmity is opposed to friendship, immoral is opposed to moral. And it's given in the Atthasālinī as Na Kusala Akusala. Mitta Patipakka Amittavya, Lobadi Patipakka Alobadayo Vya. Cha Kusala Patipakkati Atto. So just as I mentioned, it's an opposite. The opposite of Kusala is Akusala, meaning not wholesome. The Nikkhepa kandaṃ description of Akusala Dhamma, Katame Dhamma Akusala, which are the states that are unwholesome. Again, it starts with a question, and the answer follows as Tini Akusala Mulani, Lobo, Doso, Moho. The 3 unwholesome roots: greed, hatred, and delusion. Aṭṭhakatha kilesa. The corruptions that are united with them. The word Aṭṭhakatha means united. Kilesa means corruptions. Taṃ sampayutto, Vedanakkhando, Saññakkhando, Saṅkhārakkhando, Viññānakkkhando. The aggregates of feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness, when these are associated with them. Taṃ samuttānaṃ kāya kammaṃ, vaci kammaṃ, mano kammaṃ. The bodily, vocal, and mental actions that spring from them. Ime dhamma akusala. These are the states that are unwholesome. Now again, the Akusala Dhamma is described first according to the 3 Akusala Mulani, or the 3 unwholesome roots, because they are the main component that makes the Chitta and Cetasika, the consciousness and the remaining mental factors, unwholesome. And these are Lobo, Doso, and Moho. So every single Akusala Chitta will have either 1 or 2 of these Mula. You will never see all 3 of these Mula arising in one Chitta. So the combinations that you usually would get would be Loba and Moha, Dosa and Moha, or Moha alone. You will never see Loba and Dosa arising together because they are complete opposites. It's basically Loba is kind of like attachment, and dosa is aversion. So you can't have attachment and aversion arising together in the same chitta. Therefore, those two will never arise together. So the maximum number of akusala mula that you can have in a chitta would be 2, and the minimum would be 1. Aṭṭhakatha kilesa. So here, apart from speaking about these lobha dosa moha, Lord Buddha also describes kilesas or corruptions. That is because these corruptions are also very important. Important in the sense that because these are the things that should be removed or eliminated in order to become liberated or become, in order to become a more pure person. So that is why this sentence or this phrase, Aṭṭhakatha kilesa, is included here. So we will elaborate more on this in the next couple of slides. Now, as we mentioned earlier, these lobha dosa moha, or these corruptions, which are again mental factors, do not arise on their own. They arise together with other chitta cetasika, consciousness and mental factors. And these are what is given under these aggregates. Vedana khandha is the aggregate of feeling, sanya, perception, sankhara, mental formations, and vijnana, consciousness. So these are the 4 aggregates which these lobha dosa moha as well as these corruptions are associated with. Now, you can't generate an akusala or even a kusala without performing either a physical action, a verbal action, or a mental action. So it has to come out from one of these 3 doors, which is why these 3 kaya kamma, vachi kamma, and mano kamma are mentioned here. So all of these together, ime dhamma kusala, are called states that are unwholesome. Now let's look at this phrase, Aṭṭhakatha kilesa. Depending on the context, this phrase has different meanings. First, we will look at the word ekaṭṭha, which means united. Now, Aṭṭhakatha is formed from the word ekaṭṭhaṃ. When you see the word ekaṭṭhaṃ, it means that something which persists in one consciousness or one person. But when you have the prefix sahaja being added to ekaṭṭhaṃ to form sahajekaṭṭhaṃ, that is united in coexistence, this means that which persists in one consciousness. And next, if you have the prefix pahana added to ekaṭṭhaṃ to form pahanekaṭṭhaṃ, this is called united in removal. That is in relation to something that persists in one person. So ekaṭṭhaṃ means either persisting in one consciousness or person, and then you have 2 subdivisions, sahajekaṭṭhaṃ, that which persists in one consciousness, and pahanekaṭṭhaṃ, that which persists in one person. Now, this coexistence or sahajekaṭṭhaṃ actually refers to the chitta cetasika that arises together. So if you take a particular chitta, it doesn't arise alone, it arises concurrently with mental factors. So those will be the sahajekaṭṭha. The last term, united therewith, or Aṭṭhakatha, means that it persists with greed, etc., or it persists in one consciousness together with another state, such as contact. Now, when you see the word Aṭṭhakatha, it means united therewith. Simply, what it means is that it's a state that persists with another state in one consciousness. So these words, Sahajekattaṃ and Pahanekattaṃ, will elaborate further in the next couple of slides. Now, here we have a few terms given. Again, from the Nikkhepa kandaṃ, Akusala Dhamma, Sankilitta Dhamma, Sankilitta Sankilesika Dhamma, Hina Dhamma, Sarana Dhamma. Don't have to worry about the meanings of these because we'll be elaborating on them when we get to these particular terms. But in these, what I want to stress on is that in these paragraphs, the word Aṭṭhakatha is given. And what Aṭṭhakatha refers to is Sahajekattaṃ, united in coexistence, that which persists in one consciousness. So when you see Aṭṭhakatha mentioned in these examples given above, they refer to the coexistence or united in coexistence, meaning that they persist in one consciousness. Now here we have the other form, the Pahanekatta. These three examples given here, Dassanena Pahatabba Dhamma, the states that are to be put away by vision. Dassanena Pahatabba Hetuka Dhamma, the states with roots of which are to be put away by vision. And also in the Vibhanga pakaraṇa, that is the second book of the Abhidhammatthasaṅgaha, there is a section called Sammapadana Vibhanga. And here also there is a reference to this Aṭṭhakatha kilesa. Now in all of these places, the word Aṭṭhakatha refers to Pahanekatta, or united in removal. And that is with reference to that which persists in one person. Now let's try to understand this Pahanekatta further. So for that, we will first look at the 4 stages of enlightenment. We have the first stage, which is Sotapanna, also called stream enterer, the Sakadagami, once returner, Anagami, non-returner, and the Arahatta, the Arahantship. Now, for each of these, in order to reach each of these levels or states, it is required to eliminate or remove certain corruptions or defilements. So, for a person to become a stream enterer, that person needs to eliminate or remove Sakkaya Ditti, Vicikiccha, and Silabbata Paramasa. They are the 3 fetters that needs to be removed. Sakkaya Ditti is the wrong view of self. Vicikiccha is doubt. And Silabbata Paramasa is clinging to wrong rites and rituals with the belief that it would lead to liberation. So the stream enterer, or to become a stream enterer, it is required to completely cut off these defilements. So that means when you think of that person's stream of consciousness, once those corruptions are eliminated completely, they will never arise again. So they are removed for good. That is why they are called Pahana. This is also called Samuccheda Pahana. They're completely removed so that there is no room for them to arise again. So that is why when we talk about Pahanekatta, Aṭṭhakatha kilesa, in reference to these states, it is Pahanekatta because it's completely removed and it will not arise in the stream of consciousness of these individuals, which is why when you describe Pahanekatta, it says that it is in relation to a person. So here, again, it's given, Imanitini Sanyojanani Aṭṭhakatha kilesa. Tan sampayutto vedanakando, sanyakando, sankarakando, vinyanakando, tan samuttana, kaya kammam, vachi kammam, mano kammam. ime dhamma dassanena pahatabba. So this is how the term dassanena pahatabba dhamma is described. And as I mentioned before, if you take dassanena pahatabba, this is with reference to the sotapanna or the stream enterers chitta. So the sotapanna person, or the person who is going to become a sotapanna person, has to eliminate 3 samyojanas or 3 fetters. And those are the sakkaya ditthi, vichikiච්ඡā, and the silabbata paramasa. And these 3, Aṭṭhakatha, Chikilesa, these 3 are the ones that needs to be completely eliminated in order to become sotapanna. So that is why in this context, Aṭṭhakatha is referred or is described, or it means pahaṇekaṭṭha, united in removal, that which persists in one person. Now, one may think, well, can't you take it as persisting in one chitta? Well, you can take it as persisting in one chitta. However, this is a special occasion because these samyojana will not ever arise in that person's stream of consciousness. That is why it is given a special term, a different term called pahaṇekaṭṭha. Akusala Dhamma is described in the Aṭṭhakatha Khanda as Dvādasa Akusala Chittuppada. Now again, the Aṭṭhakatha Khanda starts off with the question, Katame Dhamma Akusala, which are the states that are unwholesome? And the answer, Dvādasa Akusala Chittuppada, the 12 unwholesome states. Ime Dhamma Akusala, these are the states that are unwholesome. So what are these 12 unwholesome states? There are 8 lobha. Those are the chittas which have greed in them. And then there are 2 dosa chitta. Dosa is aversion or forget the word now. And finally, moha, or delusion. So there are 2 there. So 8 lobha, 2 dosha, and 2 moha chittas. And these comprise of the Dvādasa Akusala Chittuppada, or the 12 unwholesome states. Dvādasa Akusala Chittuppada, the 12 unwholesome states. Now, in this context, unlike when the Kusala Chitta was described as Chatusu Bhumisu Kusalang, there is no mention about planes of existence or Bhumi. This is because every single Akusala Chitta belongs to just one plane, that is the Kama Avachara Bhumi. Because there is no division, there is no necessity to mention specific planes. Now let's look at the word Chittuppada. Chittuppada refers to risings of consciousness, and it is formed by the combination of 2 words, Chitta, consciousness, and Uppada, risings. Upajjati means risings. So risings of consciousness is termed as Chittuppada. Now, what one must understand is Chitta doesn't arise alone. It always arises with mental factors. For the example given here is when it is said that the king has come, it is understood that the king has come along with the ministers and the other retinue. And it doesn't mean that the king has come alone. Likewise, if you hear the term consciousness as arisen or risings of consciousness, it must be understood that together with the chitta or consciousness arises the other associated states, which are the mental factors. So when you hear the expression Chittuppada, risings of consciousness, it is understood that the chitta along with the cetasika, the mental factors, arise together with the chitta. So when you look at the description given for kusala, under kusala, it's given as chatusu bhumisu kusala, isn't it? But here it's given as dvadasa akusala chittupada. And there's a question asked here, why it is not called akusalang and why it is called akusala chittupada. There isn't a particular reason as such. It is just for, it is called desana vilasa, or just for ease of pronouncing it, or ease of stating it. It basically sounds better as this, but there is no, even when you say chatusu bhumisu kusalang, that word kusalang implies that the chitta cetasika, both of them are included within that term. And even here, when you say akusala chittupada, the chitta and cetasika both are included. So it's just a way of stating it. It's a different way of stating it. And it doesn't have a specific reason for being called such. Now, as we mentioned, the akusala belong only to the kamavachara sphere, or the sense sphere. So what is given in purple are the 12 akusala. And as you can see, you don't find akusala in any of the other spheres. You don't have akusala in rupavachara, arupavachara, and lokuttara. So it's just in the sense sphere, which is why there is no mention of bhumi in the Aṭṭhakatha kandaṃ under this term. Now, looking at akusala dhamma, the contents of it. We have the 12 akusala chitta, the 8 lobha chitta, greed-rooted chitta, the 2 dosa chitta, the 2 hatred-rooted chitta, 2 moha chitta, delusion-rooted chitta. And together with these chitta are the associated cetasika, or the mental factors. And we have 27 in total. And these are the 13 anya samana cetasika, the ethically variable factors, and the 14 akusala cetasika, the unwholesome factors. Now, one thing you must remember is that although we give these numbers as 12 akusala chittas and 27 cetasika, it doesn't mean that with each of these chittas that you have all of these 27 cetasika arising together with them. That is not the case. So depending on the various type of chitta, the combination would be different. So these numbers are given as the total, that the maximum number of cetasikas that you can get, but it doesn't mean that all 27 will be found associated with one particular chitta. All right, so we'll take the next term during the next session. So with this, we will conclude our talk, and we can now take a few questions if there are any. Bruce is raising his hand. Yes, you can ask your question.
I'm just wondering, in the Dhammasaṅgaṇī book, would it be beneficial for us to read ahead on certain chapters, or not?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, what is really required is for you to be very thorough with the Abhidhammatthasaṅgaha, the contents of it. So usually I will be posting what you should read beforehand prior to the session, so that it will make things easier for you to understand the contents of the lesson. But if you are able to understand, yes, you can read ahead. So basically what we are doing right now is we are taking each Tika Mātikā, and then we are looking at the description that is given in the Nikkhepa kandaṃ, the summary section, and the Aṭṭhakatha kandaṃ, that is the Commentarial chapter. And we are also looking at the Aṭṭhakathas, that is the commentary descriptions under each of these sections. So it would definitely be beneficial, but it is not essential, because I tend to describe all of it as much as I can. However, if you can revise the Paramattha Dhamma and how each consciousness is associated with the mental factors, the combinations, that would be very beneficial for the future Mātikās.
Yeah, thank you.
I think there are 2 questions in the chat in Chinese.
Oh, yes. The first question, Doctor, is respect to teacher. May I ask why the 3 mulani, the 3 roots, only influence the nama kanda but not the rupa kanda? Basically, because only the nama kanda is explained, is quoted in the answer, but not the rupa kanda.
Yes, okay. So basically here, what we are talking about are the kusala states or the akusala states we were describing. So these are always namakanda. There are no rupa involved in wholesome or unwholesome states. Rupa are neither wholesome nor unwholesome. So therefore the rupas are put into a separate category. And that is what we will be talking about next week under Abhidhamma Dhamma. Now, it is true that along with these chitta chetasika, you do get certain types of rupa, like chittaja rupa arising, but they are not kusala nor are they akusala. They are Abhidhammatthasaṅgaha. They are neither kusala nor akusala. So when we talk about wholesome or unwholesome states, they are always namadhamma. They're always they always belong to the 4 khandhas that are the Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Viññāna. Right, so we have another question here. If in Rupavachara and Arupavachara there is no akusala chitta, the Brahmas cannot have moha, then they must be arahants, right? Okay, so the answer here is no. Now, what is meant by akusala belonging to the sense sphere plane is that the sense sphere plane is the place that in which the akusala chittas arise predominantly. It doesn't mean that it does not arise in other planes. The akusala chitta also arise in Rupavachara and Arupavachara spheres. Now, if I give you a simple example, let's say there is a human being who meditates and becomes a stream enterer. Now, the chitta of a stream enterer is a magga chitta. It is a lokuttara chitta. But the person developed that state of mind while the person was in the kamavachara bhumi or the sense sphere plane. So thereby you can develop chittas that belong to other spheres while you're in another sphere. So the reason how we name each one of these chittas as kamavachara, rupavachara, arupavachara, and lokuttara is basically based on the preponderance or how predominantly that they arise in a particular sphere.
There is another Chinese question, Doctor. Teacher, may I ask why in the Kusala Tika there is also Akusala Dhamma and Abhidhamma Dhamma?
Okay, so I told you, when it comes to these triplets, the names of the triplets, they have, there are different ways of naming triplets. One is based on the first term of that triplet. That is why the Kusala Tika is called, The Kusala Tika is basically named after Kusala Dhamma. But it doesn't mean that it contains only Kusala. It's simply named after the first term. However, what Lord Buddha has done here is that he has divided the ultimate realities into three broad groups. And these three groups, one group is the Kusala Dhamma, the second group is the Akusala Dhamma, and the third group is the Abhidhamma Dhamma. And under the Kusala Dhamma, you get all the Kusala consciousness and mental factors. Under Akusala, you get the unwholesome consciousness and mental factors. And under Aṭṭhakatha, you get everything else, which are the Vipaka Chittas, the Kriya Chittas, the functionals, the 28 rupas, and the Nibbana. So, just because this Tika is called Kusala Tika, it doesn't mean that it contains only the Kusala Dhamma. We must understand it. It's named so just because of the first term is Kusala Dhamma. However, the three terms will comprise of all the ultimate realities. All right. So we will take any more questions. You can direct your questions to this email address. And we will also have the group chat available for you to direct any questions. And the next couple of lessons will, there's going to be a slight change in the schedule. We'll have on the 7th and 14th of April, and then the 5th and the 26th of May, and then the 23rd and 30th of June. We will post these dates in the group chat as well. And now it's time to share merits. Akkasatta Chibummatta Devanaga Mahithika Punyanthang Anumoditva Chiran Rakkantu Sasanam Chiran Rakkantu Desanam Chiran Rakkantu Mamparam Idamme Nyati Nanghotu Sukita Huntu Nyatayo Idamme Nyati Nanghotu Sukita Huntu Nyatayo Idamme Nyati Nanghotu Sukita Huntu Nyatayo Imina Punya Kammena Mame Bala Samagamo Satan Samagamo Hotu Javanibbana Paktiya Itam me Punyan Asavakya Vaham Hotu Itam me Punyan Nibbanasa Pachayo Hotu Mama Punya Bhagam Sappasattanam Bhajemi Te Sabbe me Samang Punya Bhagam Labantu Buddha Sasanam Chiram Tittatu Buddha Sasanam Chiram Tittatu Buddha Sasanam Chiram Tittatu Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Doctor. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Thank you. Sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Mhm.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Brother JJ. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.